Motion is agreed. Call on Government Order of the Day number 1.
Anzac Day Amendment Bill, first reading.
That legislative statement is... Oh, sorry. The Honourable Paul Goldsmith. Sorry, the Honourable Chris Penk.
Thank you, sir. Seeking a call to present a legislative statement on the Anzac Day Amendment Bill.
That legislative statement is published under the authority of the House and can be found on the Parliament's website. The Honourable Chris Penk.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I move that the Anzac Day Amendment Bill be now read a first time, and I nominate the Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade Committee to consider the bill. Sir, I'll start in slightly unusual fashion, if I may, to invite any members who are giving contributions on this matter the opportunity to wear poppy. I've placed the number down by the mace along with some pins if any colleagues wish to avail themselves of that opportunity. Of course, we are only a matter of a few short weeks ahead of Anzac Day, and there'll be other opportunities, of course, for members to express their support for our veterans through the RSA Welfare League, and I'm encouraged to see the response already in that regard. So I also want to acknowledge the Minister for Arts, Culture and Heritage, whose name technically could or should be on this bill, but as the Anzac Day Act is a matter of considerable significance to our nation's veterans, I am very pleased to be able to speak to it on behalf of the government, and recognising particularly that for our ex-service personnel, the impact that they will feel for the changes we are making. So in a way, the bill that we have before us is in the realm of symbolic recognition, but symbols are important, not least of all to our armed forces. Poppies, medals, flags, silver ferns and other symbols represent the ideals for which generations of men and women in this country have fought and in some cases paid the ultimate sacrifice. The bill that comes before the House today, sir, is designed to provide for broader and more inclusive recognition and commemoration on Anzac Day of those who have served our country in wars and warlike operations. The Anzac Day Act 1966 currently restricts recognition and commemoration to those who served in 6 specified conflicts, ending with the war in South Vietnam. By being limited to the specific named conflicts, the Act is currently too narrow. I think for many of us who have attended Anzac Day services, and I acknowledge members across the House who inevitably will have done that in their respective local areas, clearly the mood of the nation in the year 2025, and of course in many recent years, has been that we must take a much more broad and inclusive approach. It's appropriate that our legislation catches up with that. We must take account of the recent conflicts and other operations in which our people have served, as well as conflicts actually before that time that were not specified in the legislation. The restrictiveness of the current law excludes a number of circumstances where Kiwi personnel have served their country with bravery and distinction, and where recognition from their fellow citizens, and of course the government on behalf of those citizens, is richly deserved. The wording of the Act does not at present include military service by personnel in the New Zealand Armed Forces or others in allied forces in wars or warlike conflicts, such as UN missions or multi-force groupings or organisations. I think, sir, of service like the UN Peacekeeping Force on the Sinai Peninsula, among others. And neither does the present version of the Act cover non-military service in a war or warlike conflict involving New Zealand. For example, the Home Guard defending New Zealand, medical personnel and members of the Merchant Navy during the World Wars, and members of the New Zealand civilian surgical team who served in the Vietnam conflict as well. In other words, so we aim to be much more comprehensive and fair in recognising all these people in this way. New Zealand residents and others also served in Allied forces in the 2 World Wars. And some New Zealand Armed Forces personnel who enlisted to serve their country died in service training incidents. They too should not be forgotten. And neither should we forget those from other Allied force countries who were there with the Kiwis when the first Allied troops landed on Gallipoli in 1915, such as India and France, on whom the Act is currently silent. By naming some countries service personnel but not others, we have perhaps unwittingly but nevertheless excluded in a very real way those who also served. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't point out, sir, that there were others who served in nations with whom we were then in conflict, with whom we have very friendly and cordial and constructive relationships, including in a security sense, but of course more broadly, people-to-people links, economic relationships such as trade and so on. So we aim to keep Anzac Day and the commemorations that take place annually on the 25th of April as relevant this year and next year and so on as they were last year and all the years previous. So the change being made is a small one, and I acknowledge that. But I think nevertheless, sir, and I hope that members will agree, it is a powerful one. It will create a new Section 2 in the Act, and this will broaden recognition and commemoration of all who have served New Zealand, including those who have passed away, but not only those, in times of war and warlike conflict. The government, on behalf of the people of New Zealand, bears the significant responsibility of improving the way that we honour and acknowledge those who have served our nation humbly, courageously and with great loyalty. So I do just want to mention in my remaining time that this is of course a broader stream of work that has been undertaken over a number of different years and across successive governments. There are others in the House, including previous ministers, who will recognise the discussion that has been held about, for example, having in law a recognition of a kawanata or covenant that would recognise the service of our armed forces to the people of New Zealand. Those are beyond the scope of this bill, and so I don't intend to traverse those subjects today, but with Anzac Day coming soon, no doubt these conversations will soon come to the fore again. It's appropriate they do so. And as I stated publicly, albeit within the Whakatane RSA, but reported more widely, in response to a gesture made by Warrant Officer Willie Apiata VC, I have heard those calls for a broader recognition, and yes, it may be that it is appropriate to think about ways that we can recognise symbolically those who have served New Zealand as veterans in a way that doesn't threaten the integrity or the current structure of the veteran Freedom of Support Act. Those conversations, as I say, sir, are for another day. And for now, though, I do wish to acknowledge them. I do wish to point out that the commitment made by the Prime Minister at the RSA's annual conference of last year is being honoured by the introduction of this Act, and we've committed to having it passed before Anzac Day of 2026. The support of other members of the House, including across the parties, as well as, of course, our friends and partners in Coalition, will be very welcome indeed. So with that, sir, I conclude simply by reiterating those themes upon which the legislation is based. Anzac Day must be much more inclusive. Its focus must be not solely on the past, but also recognising already the comments that are quite rightly made around the country on the 25th of April that it represents to the future as well as the present. We have a duty to honour those who serve us. This bill will go some small way to ensuring that we do so. We will remember them.
The Honourable.
Well, that's unusual to not hear the word "I commend this bill to the House." So that was unusual. Rob, your 2 cents worth.
I think it's great. I had a read of the one page before I came on the show, Sam. So it really it's just an update of the 1966 bill. Talks about Anzac Day and the special day that it is to, I think, every New Zealander. So it's commemorative and it's great like that. And then it talks about that service, and I could think of many examples, some in my own family, which has only just been recently recognised. My father served in 2 places, in Kashmir for 2.5 years, one of the first UN missions, served in the Sinai and the Goulden just after the 73 war and that sort of thing. And there was, while there was UN medallic, I guess, recognition of that, it never recognised. He had RF and TF service, and for 16 years, and he was never recognised with a long service award till a couple of years ago. So it's great. It recognises that there's many other conflicts as well, where people have gone on, like the Mururoa duties. They've gone to other parts of the world, like the Falklands, even as far back as the early 80s. In many places, New Zealanders have gone that wouldn't have been included in those original 6 major conflicts. So there's been so many, like dozens of places New Zealanders have served, including our only living Victoria Cross holder, who served in Iraq, East Timor, and Afghanistan. I mean,
That's Willie Apiata.
Yeah, Willie Apiata, exactly. So, I mean, why wouldn't you recognise that service of those many, and there's thousands of, I believe there's about 60,000 people that have served since Vietnam. You know, you'd think the RSA would be twice as large. So it's recognising that service that many New Zealanders, men and women, give to this country. And it's fantastic. So that's great. I hope that heals a few wounds for a few people. Yeah.
I mean, I see it as a step in the right direction. I do hope that Willie Apiata's request to redefine or expand the definition of a veteran does get acknowledged, and I really hope that this bill doesn't kind of get used to go, okay, we've addressed the veterans, now we can move on with other bills. It's like, no, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and I 100% support Willie Apiata in his efforts to get the definition expanded. Yeah,
that's great. And then you've got that the sort of byproduct of that of care and that, you know, access to care and medical care, the things that we now talk about and have been talking about it for a few years. You know, the PTSD people suffer from and the wounds. I guess other families. I was. If you don't mind me telling you, I was away on a couple of weeks ago on the Ride of Respect, which raises money for veterans and their families, and we had one got raised on that day of a case that had just fallen through the cracks with a veteran who ended up taking his own life and then leaving a family with a who I believe the woman, the wife, had terminal cancer. You know, terrible circumstances, and those things get missed. So it's great to see there's some recognition of that sort of service. But it's warlike service. I just had a look at the definition because I like sort of legal stuff.
Yep.
And looking at that, it's a warlike conflict where, and here's the key, there is armed conflict that has occurred or is occurring, or they're in a place where it might recur. So our people can at any one time can be sitting off the coast of Bosnia on a ship or sitting off the Falkland Islands and that sort of. So they're taking the same, not maybe quite the same risks as that, but they're in war zones. I mean, that's what they're in. They're very dangerous places where things happen and even mistakes get made. So, yeah, that's great. I think it's good. But, yeah, I think Willie comes at it for Willie Apiata comes from it. He's very interested in the welfare. Given where he's been to many incredible places in the world and a great guy. He's interested in the welfare of veterans and their families, and I think that's incredible.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to our Facebook